Hi everyone, welcome to the Ignite podcast. My name is Renee Huang. I'm the founder of Wild Women Tribe and your host for the Ignite podcast in partnership with Park City TV. The podcast has become this safe space to bring two women together in conversation about things that really matter. And these women are doing inspiring things to support their communities and bring other women into their own purpose. So today we are going to talk about the concept of finding your own clarity. And I'm really excited to have Kelli Murcko, who is one of the co-owners of Firewood on Main, and also Terry Sidford, who is a speaker and a coach and an author and also a Park City TV host. So welcome to you both.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So it's interesting when we dive into these topics. They're things that you don't really need to study up on, but you definitely have perspectives to share. And I love just introducing two women together who probably don't know each other and finding out the amazing kind of perspectives that we all have. So if you're into it, let's just talk about clarity. What does that idea even mean to you?
Do you want to go first?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I thought it was a great subject to talk about because it's something that I work with a lot of clients on, clarity. And it's not a destination, it's a moving target.
Right.
And I think for me and working for myself and working with others that it's a day-to-day thing. It's something that takes a lot of time to yourself and understanding who you are, what your values are, what are the things that are most meaningful to you, and really challenging those thoughts as well that get in the way. But clarity, it changes a lot. Over my lifetime, it's changed a lot. So it's just really getting still, getting clear with yourself on what it is that you want to do and what's important to you.
Well, it's really about like giving yourself permission to really speak your own truth, right? Like I remember growing up, you know, my parents were both immigrants and they were to come from another country into North America and to like be living that dream, you know, it's a lot of pressure, I think, even on their offspring. And so it was like, you know, what are you going to study and what are you going to be? And it's like all this pressure to have your plan and to like be purposeful, but it's very confusing because it's like whose purpose and whose dream and whose vision am I living out, you know? And I mean, it's taken me well into my adult years and marriage and then divorce and then just trying to like figure out what that is. So what about you, Kelli?
Well, I agree obviously with everything that you've said, and for me I feel that you know, I just try to make good goals for myself and not always look for the final destination, but look at all the steps along the way and know that it's okay for those to change. And you know, now I have a daughter going into college next year, and I said, you know, you might change your mind 4, 5, 6 times, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, you want to find your passion and you want to do what you love, and you don't want to be stuck and always trying to be searching or wishing that you did something that you're not happy doing. And it's helping me kind of, I don't know, kind of look at my steps every day in my life, with work or personally. But I just think that, you know, coming to your own understanding and having your own beliefs and not really being muffled by all the sounds around you. And just, you know, making goals. For me, writing things down is very helpful. I'm a big checklist person, but sometimes I, you know, make 3 checks and I'm like, you know what, I don't even want to focus on this 4th thing. I'm ready to move past that, or it's created another goal for myself. So those are some ways that I try to find clarity.
What about on kind of the flip side of things? Like, do you know what it feels like, or have you got examples or moments in your life where you're like, you know what, I didn't have clarity and this is what that looks like? Terry's laughing.
I'm kind of giggling. Yeah. My list was like this.
More than not. I mean, that's kind of how you find your clarity, is by going through those steps and those motions, and being okay with it not working out as planned, or are, deviating towards a different path. I think it's just a great thing to be secure enough to be okay with that, and not play out someone else's plan.
Which takes a lot. Like you're saying it, like, I mean, it's very simple, which it is, but how do you get there?
And I'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for me, it's been a lot of trial and error, and I think it's been just with my age becoming more confident in myself and not really caring what everyone else around me. I love people's input and I love people's opinions, but not really caring what they have to say. Their bottom line is not necessarily mine.
Yeah.
And what I was going to add to that, which was so great, it's really about getting clear about your own knowingness, and really understanding if it's your intentions or someone else's intentions.
So do you have examples where it's like you followed someone else's intentions? And
yeah, so many times. Mostly in my early 20s when I was kind of insecure from a not so stable environment growing up, and so I was looking for love and nurturing from other people, so I would just jump right into their life and kind of think, oh, well, that's their values, oh great, I'll do that, and it looks like it's working for them. Right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh no, that's not me, and that took a lot of mistakes and trials and errors, but those are the moments that really connected me to who I am, because there was a moment where I was sitting in a living room. I won't tell you the story, but I had nothing to my name. I lost everything. But I sat there, and it was a huge defining moment in my life where I knew that I still had myself, and that was a lot. But I would have not found myself if I hadn't been in that
position,
in that position. Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes the unknown is our friend, and that's kind of been my experience. I've made many mistakes.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot. I mean, I think in my 20s, I did want to be adventurous and like be a good support partner, and my marriage was like that. My partner, my husband at the time, had a great vision and a great plan and was like, you are welcome to come along. I mean, it was so generous, and he was so clear in his vision, and so for me I was like, okay, I'll do what you want because it's so clear. But it kind of over the years, like, it was a feeling of resentment which built up, and dissatisfaction, and then feeling like I didn't have my own plan, and that was through no fault of anyone's, but just me kind of putting myself on the back burner and saying, well, I'm going to follow the stronger personality here, right? And so, yeah, like you said, it took kind of defining moments of realizing, like, I don't even know who I am or where I'm going or what I want, to really like challenge myself and say, okay, well, this is the opportunity now.
Yes,
right?
And I also think that, I don't know if this is generally for women, more probably for women, that we, to give ourselves permission to say it's okay to do it our way or do something for ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a big believer in that, and I have a very strong partner, and we work, hand in hand, day to day. And sometimes we don't see everything eye to eye, but it's great because we definitely take the time and take the moments necessary to sit down and really listen to each other, and being able to see things through other people's eyes is something that he's really taught me, and it's been a huge, great, positive lesson for me, to be able to sit down and be like, you know what, I didn't think about this that way, but now I can relate to maybe how someone else is thinking, and it's been a great lesson, and I learn from that honestly every single day. Because I'm surrounded by so many different personalities and so many alpha type A people in our business, and so sometimes you just kind of have to sit back and see what's going on around you. Sometimes your words aren't what need to be said, and sometimes you just have to think about a situation.
I love that.
And that's been, it's been helpful not to be I mean, I am type A, but not to be so type A, to be able to sit back and kind of play out how everyone else is seeing a situation.
To be more subtle in certain...
Yeah, it's difficult
Wow.
sometimes, But I've learned in my years to be able to do that.
That's amazing,
Well, I think,
though.
yeah, I think we'd have a much better world if we could all do that a little bit better. It doesn't mean we have to agree with what they're thinking, but if people want to be heard and seen. And I've just recently had that in my own family. We've got a lot going on and different personalities, and I just acknowledging what they're saying was huge.
I think a lot of times people just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And I'm a good listener, and I love hearing people's stories and what brought them to where they are today or where they were last year. And a lot of times people just appreciate, they don't want to hear your advice or where you've been, they just want to be heard. And maybe at the end of it, hear a few things that you have to say, but I don't feel everyone needs all of your input or your stories in order to try to create their own, because they need to find their own clarity in their own situation.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I mean, helping other people not try to fix them and just say, you know what, I see you and I hear you, and
I think
that's where we're going to be.
Yeah.
And you can figure out the rest, and I'll stand here and hear you and see you, but that's up to you. But that's powerful.
Very powerful.
I don't think
holding
a lot of people,
space for them.
Yeah, they don't think a lot of people need to be fixed, and even though they think they need to be fixed,
right.
They just need to find their way within their own situation.
So how did you both do that? How did you start stepping into listening to yourself and finding yourself?
I just was kind of forced to. I think, and I think I was always taught to trust inside. So that was one good thing. So I had that one golden nugget for myself, that to trust intuition, inner guidance system. And I always know that when I'm off or something's not going right or I'm not feeling right, that I've forgotten to do that. So that, I think, through some difficulties, I'd stop everything, take some quiet time, and just kind of have a clean slate and say, Terry, every single day you have an opportunity to start over. And so through these difficult times, I would just stop, go to my, just quiet myself, go to my inner voice, and trust what my inner voice is saying. And there's a lot of my thoughts, and I work with a lot of my clients, that these thoughts don't always come from you either. They come from society, they come from your parents, different people. And you have to really challenge those thoughts. And the only way that you can do that, this limiting beliefs and things like that, is by being quiet and really asking yourself, is that thought really true about myself or others? So that's where I've found clarity in my life. Being quiet.
And and allowing. Yeah.
Trusting.
What about you, Kelly?
I think being quiet has been a huge part of finding clarity for myself, but I think just reflecting on different situations at different times in my life, whether I was young or in my 20s or 30s and now into my 40s, finding clarity for me has been just focusing on my day to day. And when I feel like I've gone a certain period of time and I'm not getting where I want to go, and I feel maybe I'm in a rut, to really sit back and kind of reflect on my life at that moment and see what I'm doing and where I want to go and what I want to pursue. And then I can make adjustments and find a new direction, or continue in that direction, but maybe with some different goals. And that has a lot to do with us in business, because that's a big part of who we are and our life. And we've made a lot of adjustments to get where we are today, thinking that a lot of steps along the way might have been part of our final destination. And I feel that it's okay to make that shift, and allowing myself to do that, multiple times. It was definitely difficult in the beginning, because I was like, is it going to be okay? Am I making a good choice? But now I feel great about it, because it's done nothing but allow me to grow, and knowing that I can always go back, which is
right. There is no closed door. Right?
Exactly. So knowing that I can move forward, or I can take a piece of what was, in the past, has been very helpful for me. So that's been helpful for me to find my clarity to where I am today.
Well, I love what you're saying about, trusting yourself and being more fluid. For someone who comes from, like, my background is very traditionally Asian, and have your plan and stick with it and just follow through, and to be able to peel that away and, like, give myself permission to have a more deviating path and, like, to be less rigid has been such a gift, because then I've allowed more of that free flow in, and, like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you can't, like, possibly plan for all of the scenarios that might present themselves if you go down a certain pathway.
Sure.
Or if you turn left here, maybe you go up a different pathway and come back to the same. I mean, you just can't ever prepare. And so I think for me, the whole process has involved, like, loosening up and just free flowing a little bit more, and then following the feeling, right? Like,
Absolutely.
if I'm in a situation now where I'm trying to plan something and I've got all these pokers in the fire and there's a lot of resistance and it's not really connecting, then I really step back and say, okay, well, wait, that's happening for a reason.
Yeah.
And I can either push forward and, like, make it happen, all that language we use in our world, or I can just let it go and allow whatever the path of least resistance is to come to the surface. And I think sometimes when we push and push and push, we block ourselves, right? And we don't even let that easy flow.
It's so true, so true.
I agree. One of my great yoga teachers in Sun Valley once said, and not once, but many times said, find your own perfect. And everyone has such a definition of what perfect is in their mind, and perfect is so different for everyone. And I think that was a huge thought that always has stuck with me over the years, that I'm just trying to find myself and my perfect and the best for me and my family. And it might look different for me than it would for you or you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And not to judge anyone else, and just try to live my best being is something that I try to focus on all the time.
And I also think too, that's what you need to do every single day. But when you're too, like you were just talking about the effort. When you effort too much, it's almost a physics that you do not get what you really want when you effort too much. And a lot of people don't know that. But have you ever been trying to find something in the house, and you just, I can't do anything else unless I find my wallet or whatever it is, and then you just effort, and all of a sudden you say, okay, forget it, all right, I'm just gonna forget about it. And then in 2 seconds, all of a sudden you find it. You know exactly where it's at. So that's, to me, I talk a lot about that with the people I work with, that it's setting your intention or your goals first, and then creating action around that, but then letting go to what it looks like or how it's going to show up. And if you can't let go and let some more space live around it, then you're going to miss some great opportunities that might be showing up, because all you're focused is that one thing. Yeah.
In your personal relationships, do you find that you have this dialogue as well, like with your kids or with your spouse? Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I find it part of my job as a parent to open up all the doors that I possibly can, and I think there's a lot of pressures and expectations and things that drive these kids to go to if this 4-year university, or get this GPA, or find your passion at 16 or 18. And I've kind of thrown all that out the window, and said, do what you feel is the best for you. And my daughter wanted to be a chef, and then we go open this restaurant, and she's nowhere to be seen. I'm like, okay, you clearly don't want to be a chef, and now she's moved on to the next thing.
Or she's a 16-year-old girl.
That too. But I just said, that's okay. And I said, you might, find a few more things that you want to try. And I wish that I did that. I wish that I spent more time trying to find who I was. And you have your whole life to find your career and to find who you are. And I'm still finding myself, at 47, and I continue to. And at this point, I enjoy finding new things out about myself, or new directions that I can go, or different roles people can play in my life. I'm not looking for that final destination. And so with my kids or my husband, I kind of try to have them embrace that same outlook. I would say.
Boy, I think that's so beautiful and such a gift that you can give to your children, because mine are now in their late 20s, and I went through that period where they were just so stressed out about making the right decision. And of course I wanted them to keep moving and not let themselves down the road. And so I'm always telling them, just know that you're capable of great things and make a difference in the world and find your passion and have a purpose. And know that, you get to the end of your life that you've found something that you're good at, enjoy it, and can it impact somebody else or the world. And just be your best, but take the pressure off of having to do it just right or at the right timing.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think, especially as parents, like we have these different layers of like we're going through this personal work and kind of finding ourselves, but then it's like then we're leading these other beings too, and
it's a lot of feels like a lot of responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, and I find myself catching myself between like this more open way of thinking and feeling and living that I want to embrace in all my areas, but then still, my kids are 10 and 12. Wanting them to still kind of pursue like more traditional, like yes, you're going to finish school and you're going to go to college and get a good job. And then I catch myself, I'm like, well, I mean, yes, but what's, the underlying message? It's for them to be happy and purposeful and to find their own way. But I find myself very easily going back into just this is how it's done. So
it's a funny little balance, because now that they're older, we have this conversation about, well, Mom, you used to say this and this and this. Well, and you don't believe that 100%, do you? Now, you know what? It was my job to put it out there for you, and then when you pushed up against that at a certain time, then we would have that conversation. Like, okay, let's plan on going to college. Let's, do that. So that's kind of how I handled it. And then when they get to the point, because mine didn't go to college, one of them didn't, and found another path. They're doing great.
Of course, yeah.
Right, but I had to like push that out there, or at least put it out there. So that's kind of how I balanced my way through that. But it's wonderful to have that conversation later on with them when they get older.
As adults, right? And say, like in hindsight.
Yes, yes.
So now, as you're moving through your day and your week and your life, and you're seeking to constantly have more clarity, do you guys have tools and resources that you draw upon that really help you, like when you're needing to have more focus or feeling like you're becoming a little less clear?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I do, I'll turn to a lot of books and do a lot of reading. I would say that, yoga and the right teacher definitely helps reset my mind and kind of become my calm within myself. But also just, talking to my husband and to my good friends and people that know me well, that have seen me and known me throughout, even a couple years to decades. They're like, Kelli, you X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, you know what, you're right. And just, I think for me, taking a step back, again, in the silence part of things, is really helpful, because I get so busy in my brain and too much is going on. So I just try to take a little breath and
carving out the time.
Which is always a challenge.
Yeah.
It's like a reset. It's like a reset button.
But it's almost easier to keep going in the busyness.
Always.
It is. It
right?
is.
Because then you
It's a
feel like,
distraction.
oh, I'm doing something, and I think in our society, like we applaud and really celebrate the busyness. Right? People will say that like a badge of honor. I'm so busy, I don't have a spare moment. And they kind of say it with pride, and everyone goes, oh yeah, you're so accomplished. Right? So I mean, it's even like going against the grain of where we are in society when you say, no, I'm just gonna take this time for myself.
I'm gonna take a day to myself.
Yeah. Have you heard the term, FOMO, fear of missing out? Have you heard this other counter term coming up now, JOMO?
No.
It's the joy of missing out. And it's
love that.
It's seriously
hashtag that today.
It's a thing, but it's where people
JOMO,
are like,
JOMO.
you know what? I know that there's this cocktail party and this barbecue and this thing, and I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I'm going to say no and say yes to me, and it's the JOMO.
I like the
So
JOMO.
Love that. That's going to be my new thing for sure.
I've JOMO'd a lot recently. I am go, go, go all the time, and I don't have any problem throwing my sweats on and hopping in bed or hanging out with my kids. And I know that there's a whole barbecue or party or concert going on, and I know that there's going to be another one. And,
Yes,
and
yes.
so I'm okay taking that moment because I don't always have that moment. And so sometimes I just want to be, with my family or by myself and kind of chill out. But I love that new saying.
Me too, me too. I love it. One thing, I've been practicing that as well. But I've added something I had to practice too with saying no without apologies.
Yes, I love that.
And that's, it's so, I wanted to stop the words at the sorry, saying sorry, but I can't make it. But it's really empowering when I'm not really sorry. I would rather be in my bed with my pajamas reading my book because I need to reset today. And that's very empowering to just say no and choose. It's being in control of your choices in life, and no one can make those choices for you but yourself, of how to reset, how to go back to clarity.
And then when you don't apologize, you're really kind of demanding, demanding's a strong word, but really asking of other people to just see you and respect you and honor where you are.
Absolutely.
Yes, and
right?
they usually really like it because
yeah.
they're wishing that they could do that. Like, why? That's right. Why didn't I do that? I didn't really want to go to this party.
They feel obligated, and they
Right.
don't want to let people down, and they maybe made a commitment they don't want to, back out of, which I understand completely. But I think that if there's a party of 100 people or a concert where there's thousands of people, it's okay for me to back out. I think there's definitely times where you need to show up and follow through with commitments. I'm a big believer in that, but I think it's okay to say no and be able to take that time, especially if it's not going to have a severe impact on everyone around you.
Right. I mean, that even goes further back to, if you can, to
Yeah.
I've heard this one, somebody told me that what they do, successful action, is that before they even answer when someone asks them, before they commit to it, they'll count to like 10. And not just have the knee-jerk reaction and just like, okay, is that really what I want to do? And they'll count to 10 before they answer. Or I'll get back to you. Just a minute, I have a phone call,
That's
and
really
I'll get back to you.
Because I find myself just overcommitting sometimes, and then I have to go back and kind of backpedal and say, okay, you know what, I've overcommitted today, and I don't like doing that. So that's a really, great way to kind of make a little balance and not overcommit.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I took that one on myself. That's a good one.
But I think
Work on
like
that.
as we're talking about clarity too, it helps in our relationships to be clear and to not have that fuzzy line where you're like doing something that you don't really want to do, but you don't want to disappoint or let someone down or whatever, but then you're not really showing up with a true yes, and so it's muddied anyway, right? And then you end up like possibly resenting that event or not having a good time because you didn't want to go anyway, or just adding and clouding all sorts of negative emotion because it wasn't like a true yes for you.
Right.
So I think there is like a lot of merit to taking that time and like dialing in and saying, okay, well, I only want to say yes to the things that are like a hell yes, and otherwise
I
like
love
it's
that.
not doing any favors to anyone, right?
No. And one of the things another tool I've used is saying, what's the greatest good in this moment to myself and to others around me?
Yeah.
And that seems to help me.
Yeah.
What's the greatest good? And maybe it's not what I want. Maybe it is serving these other people in my life.
Right. Very true.
But that seems to help me at times.
I could see
I
that.
like that.
I could see that. Obviously it's not all about me, or it's not all about us. It's definitely giving back, but just making the choices of showing up to the places where you really want to do that has been, I don't want to say a challenge for me, but I'm getting better at it. Being able to say no and showing up to things that necessarily I wouldn't maybe want to spend my time doing, but I'm grateful, and I feel some sort of success by showing up and helping these other people out during these times.
So as you move through life and constantly revising your version of clarity, do you have like a vision in the future of what that will look like?
I mean,
That's a hard question.
it's a hard question.
Great question.
I mean, today I think is going to be different than tomorrow.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, right now I'm just trying to, focus on the next 10 years and what that means to me. I don't know. That's a question I need to kind of think
so
about.
For me, like, I think the more clear that I can be, and in my relationships, the more I'm going to attract that into my life. So I'm kind of excited by, learning how to be more direct and learning how to speak my truth and learning how to just be more clear and honest with myself and with other people. And in the future, I see that just more of that will come in. So I think it's an exciting, like, little shift, but
Great shift.
yeah.
I think vision is important, to have a vision of your future. But again, it's that not holding on to it so tightly, and that you can allow it to show up differently.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's much better than the vision you had. So my vision for the future is really based on trusting, kind of a trust thing, and just more of a beingness for me. Can I step into being who I really want to be? And is that being the best person? Is that using all my talents? And it's leaning into life where it's going into the unknown. So a lot of that vision is is unfolding. But I know it's not a crystal clear vision, but it's more of a knowingness that if I'm showing up 100% and I'm leaning into life and I'm being completely honoring who I am, that it's all going to be exactly what I want it to be.
And none of what you planned,
But
but
probably nothing I planned.
but perfect
But
in
perfect.
every way anyway.
Right, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that might be listening to this who are like, oh, I can't do, no, that's too vague. But I've found that that's really where the most magical things show up.
Absolutely.
Have you experienced that too?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's nice to have a goal and a plan and a vision, but it's also nice to recreate that along the way, because it's hard to predict the future. And so you can try to make a plan, but it doesn't mean that you have to be flexible with that plan and take every punch as it comes.
Yes, I see the opportunity in it, right?
I see the opportunity
Right,
in everything.
right,
I mean,
right.
whether good or bad, I think that it's always great to see something always will come out of it, and you can either choose to take that and apply it in your every day-to-day life, or know that that's something you don't want, and know that it's okay not to apply it, even though it might work for someone else.
But yeah, you'll always get out of it what you're meant to.
Absolutely.
So wise. I think we could fix the problems of the world right
Right,
here.
right. And it's not as complicated as you think.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, do you want to share any social media handles, ways that people can get in touch with you or find your restaurant perhaps?
Well, we are on Instagram at Firewood on Main, as well as Facebook, and anyone can get in touch with any of us at info@parkcityonmain.com. But yeah, we are open right now, and we are staying open through the fall this year. So
Love your restaurant. Love.
Thank you.
And you can get a hold of me, Terry, Terry, Sidford, SIDFORD.com, and my Instagram is Terry_Sidford.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on the Ignite podcast. My name is Renee Huang. You can find Wild Women Tribe online at wildwomentribe.net, and we're also on Facebook and Instagram. And check it out if you're in the Utah area, Park City, Salt Lake. We have lots of excursions that bring women together in transformational experiences outdoors. So there's lots of ways to meet other women who are like-minded like you, who love to talk and connect on topics that really matter. So I also wanted to thank Park City TV for being our media host of the Ignite podcast, and you could subscribe on SoundCloud and on YouTube and follow some other episodes. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.